All right, let's talk about a guide that pretty much flips everything we've been told about happiness completely on its head. So if you're feeling burned out from that constant pressure to be positive, to be successful, to just be more all the time, then this is definitely for you.
I mean, let's just be real for a second. Are you tired? Just exhausted from constantly chasing that next thing, that next goal, that next purchase, whatever it is you think will finally make you happy? It's a never-ending race, and that feeling, that's the exact problem we're going to unpack today.
And here's the big paradox. We're all stuck on what some people call the hedonic treadmill. Think about it. You get that promotion, you buy that new gadget, you get a few likes online, and you feel this little rush of joy. But then, what happens? It fades. And almost instantly, you're right back where you started, already looking for the next hit. That cycle, that constant chase, isn't making us happy, it's just making us tired. So what if we just stepped off the treadmill altogether?
And that leads us straight to the core idea here. The solution isn't about getting more or trying to feel good 24/7. Nope. It's about being incredibly selective. It's about choosing, very carefully, where you're going to spend your most precious resources, your attention and your energy.
The book uses this really powerful metaphor to explain it. I want you to imagine that every single morning you wake up with a small handful of golden coins. These coins, well, they represent all the energy, all the attention, every single care you have to give for that day.
That's it. You don't get any more. It's a finite supply. And once you spend a coin, it's gone for the day. And just thinking about it like that, it forces you to ask a really important question all day long.
What's asking for a coin? And the answer is pretty much everything. Your job, that dumb comment on social media, the constant barrage of bad news, what your distant relatives think about your choices, your own nagging fears. They're all holding out a hand, demanding a coin. And if you just hand them out to anyone who asks, you'll end the day completely broke, with absolutely nothing left for the things that actually truly matter to you.
Now, this is a really important distinction. This isn't about becoming indifferent or just not caring about anything. It's actually the total opposite. It's about caring so much about a few really important things that you decide to build a wall around them. You consciously choose not to waste your precious energy on the trivial stuff. That's not apathy, that's strength.
Okay, so to really put this into practice, we have to make a pretty big shift in our mindset. We have to stop running away from the hard parts of life and instead learn to turn around and face them head on. You know, we're all taught to run from pain and chase comfort. But what if our biggest struggles, our worst setbacks, our most embarrassing failures, what if they aren't actually obstacles to a good life? What if they're the ingredients for one? Because facing that stuff, that's where true strength and resilience are forged.
Okay, I know. This one kind of stings, right? From the time we're kids, so many of us are told we're special, we're unique, we're destined for something amazing. But that pressure, the pressure to be exceptional, to be extraordinary, that can be a really heavy, and honestly a really toxic burden to carry.
It sounds really harsh on the surface, but just for a second, think about what would happen if you truly, deeply accepted that idea. What happens when you let go of that need to be some kind of superstar?
It's like this massive weight just lifts off your shoulders. All that pressure to be the best, to be amazing, it just dissolves. You can finally stop comparing yourself to some impossible ideal and just start appreciating the small, ordinary, beautiful moments that make up a real life. You connect with other people on a real level because you realize we're all just kind of muddling through this together. This isn't about giving up. It's about finding freedom in being genuine.
Here's another one of those uncomfortable truths that is actually incredibly empowering. You have to understand the massive difference between fault and responsibility. Look, things can happen to you that are 100% not your fault. You can't control that. But you always, and I mean always, get to control how you respond to those things. That part is your responsibility. See, blame keeps you stuck as a victim, but taking responsibility for your response, that's how you take your power back. So how do we actually do this? How do we start putting these ideas to work and really take back control? Let's get into the practical, actionable stuff.
First things first, we have to get really clear on what we're actually chasing. Pleasure, that's like eating a slice of cake. It's a quick, easy, temporary high. But real, lasting happiness? That's more like the feeling you get after finishing a really tough workout. It wasn't exactly pleasurable in the moment, it was hard, but it leaves you with a deep sense of fulfillment. True happiness comes from choosing our struggles and working through them, not from looking for the next quick fix.
Now, if you want to protect those golden coins, you have to become a master at setting boundaries. And a huge part of that is learning the art of saying no. It doesn't have to be mean or complicated. Just be honest, be kind about it, but be firm. A simple, "Hey, thank you so much for thinking of me, but I can't commit to that right now," is one of the most powerful sentences you can learn.
And you have to remember this every single day. There's an opportunity cost to every yes. When you say yes to a project you don't really care about, you're saying no to having that time for your family. When you say yes to scrolling on your phone for another hour, you're saying no to getting the sleep your body needs. Saying no isn't selfish. It is absolutely essential if you want to build a meaningful life.
Okay, so let's pull all these threads together. When you start choosing what really matters, when you embrace the tough parts of life, and when you take back your power, that's when you can truly begin to live a life of intention.
All right, I know this sounds really dark, but please stick with me here because this might just be the most important idea of all. Confronting the fact that you're going to die isn't about being morbid or negative. It's about using that ultimate deadline to bring an incredible amount of clarity and purpose to your life, right here, right now.
When you really let it sink in that your time here is limited, all the petty, trivial stuff just falls away. That mean comment someone left online? Suddenly, it doesn't matter. Whether your neighbor has a nicer car? Who cares? It forces you to ask the real questions. What do I want to be remembered for? What is truly important to me? It acts like a filter, clearing away all the noise so you can focus on the now.
Look, I get it. This is a lot to take in. Choosing your values, embracing pain, taking responsibility, it can feel like a huge mountain to climb. So where do you even begin? What's the very first step on this path?
And that brings us to the final game-changing idea. We think we need to feel motivated before we can take action. But that's completely backwards. You don't wait for inspiration to magically show up. You just do something. Anything. Take one tiny step. That little bit of action creates a reaction. It generates its own momentum, its own inspiration. So motivation doesn't lead to action. Action leads to motivation. The real question isn't just, what do I care about? It's, what am I willing to do about it?